In today's episode, I am joined by two senior inbound marketing specialists from here at TREW, Kasey Tyring and Julia Holliday, and they are here to talk to you guys about what it was like to take the content writing engineered course. So this is a course I've been on here to talk about before. It's a course we run about every year or so to teach marketers really the foundations and all of the kind of nuanced processes that go into writing really quality content. And I always say that this is the process we use to teach our staff how to write and really hone their writing skills. And Julia and Kasey took the course this round, and as proof to that point. But they're going to come on and talk about kind of what they learned, what their favorite parts were, how we incorporated AI into the course this year and different tools that way. They'll talk a little bit about their coaching cohorts and our individual review sessions, and then how they really went from taking a single piece of content or a single topic and developing that entire piece of content to the point that it's ready to publish and promote. And so that's a huge value of the course. This year we had quite a few participants, and they ranged from everything from, we had one person who was the owner of a company, the inventor of a technology, who wants to hone writing skills to be able to better communicate what it is that he's invented, everywhere to marketers that are part of marketing teams of hundreds of people at companies, $2 billion companies. And so such a range of people, but all facing really similar kind of challenges, right? When we go to sit down, we know we need content, but we're not sure how we're going to get from a single idea to a really in-depth piece of content that showcases the technical expertise of our company. So that's what we cover in the course. And today you'll hear a little bit about what it's like to take part in the course. So let's do this.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered, your source for building trust and generating demand with technical content. Here is your host, Wendy Covey.
Hi, and welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. On each episode, I'll break down an industry trend, challenge, or best practice in reaching technical audiences. You'll meet colleagues, friends, and clients of mine who will stop by to share their stories. And I hope that you leave each episode feeling inspired and ready to take action. Before we jump in, I'd like to give a brief shout out to my agency, TREW Marketing. TREW is a full service agency located in beautiful Austin, Texas, serving highly technical companies. For more information, visit trewmarketing.com. And now on with our podcast.
Welcome to Content Marketing Engineered. I am here today hosting in place of Wendy. My name is Morgan Norris, and I've been on here quite a few times talking about different topics, but today I'm joined by Kasey and Julia, both senior inbound marketing specialists at TREW Marketing, and they both just completed the content writing engineered course. And so we wanted to go through a little bit about just what that course looks like and their experiences for being part of it this last 6 weeks. So thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I will start by just giving a little bit of background on the content writing engineer course. So this course was developed out of a gap that we've seen in marketers, where a lot of times you've got kind of a marketer who is maybe on their own at a company. They're kind of a sole marketer in charge of a lot of things. And writing isn't necessarily their specialty, but they need to be able to write really efficiently. And so we also have people who are maybe from big organizations. We had some people from massive corporations, billion-dollar companies take this course this last round. And they are wanting to sharpen their skills in writing as they move forward in their careers. And so this course is great for that. It started 3 years ago. And we've had about 50 people, I believe, take the course over the last 3 years. And really, the last 6 weeks, the kind of setup of it is we divide everybody into small cohorts, and it runs 6 weeks. So the first week by week you start, there are lessons to watch, video recorded lessons to watch, and then there's coursework to do every week. And then we have a coaching session on Fridays and a live coaching session. And the coaching sessions, 4 of the weeks, they're group coaching sessions. And then 2 of the weeks are one-on-one review sessions when you're really in that place of outlining and writing content, so that you can really get that kind of one-on-one personalized feedback there. That's kind of the overview of what it looks like. One thing that we were really intentional about in this course is people start the course, and in the first week, you kind of define your kind of outline your customer's buyer's journey, what that's like, and identify the piece of content you're going to write. And then the course each week builds on itself, where you end the course with a completed piece of content that's ready to publish with all the promotional pieces around it. So that was another thing, is just feeling like there are resources around, you can read blog posts about how to write a white paper, or you can kind of look at like a guide, but really to get the instruction and coaching you need for each step of the writing process all the way through to the end. So you leave the course with a piece of content that's ready to go, and then kind of that proven process to repeat it. So that said, this is also the training course that we put our own staff through. So this is how we train our specialists to hone their writing skills. And so Kasey and Julia took it this last time. Just wanted to hear a little bit about kind of your thoughts after having completed it. Will you kick us off, Kasey?
Yeah, I definitely needed some help, like honing in on specifically technical writing, highly technical writing. I think you do a great job at the beginning of the course introducing everyone in our small cohort. And I think it was 7 people. And we go around the room and say why we're taking the course. And I know for me as a marketer, I was trained in writing, like journalism writing or public relations writing, but so I can write very like general content, but to get technical, especially as in TREW marketing, we're targeting engineers and technical buyers, like that's a different type of writing altogether. So this course is really valuable to me to get more in deep with the writing courses. So I really enjoyed it, and it made me more specific and more technical, but it also gave me a lot more confidence in writing and talking to SMEs. So I enjoyed it.
Right. Yeah. What about you, Julia?
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by how much I learned. I mean, I've been, I had seen some of the videos already, so I really wasn't sure that there was much more for me to learn about it. But I've been writing for TREW and for TREW clients for 3.5 years now. And I think I'd gotten to this point where a lot of my writing was kind of automatic, and I wasn't really thinking about my process very much. And so I think the course was a good reminder for me personally of why I do things the way that I do them, and really forced me to reevaluate and see how I could improve. And I think ultimately it's helping me be more intentional about my writing and really think about that audience a little bit more.
Yeah, I love that you say that, because there's, even when I'm teaching it, it reminds me of things I need to do. I had something that I was putting together for a client, a big piece of kind of combined content for a client that I was then supposed to send to Kasey to lay out. And I looked at our project like organization cards, and I saw that further on down, Kasey was going to have to write a blog post about this, like, 15,000 word like ebook. And so one thing we talk about in the course is, like, if you've spent all this time on this piece of content, you were the best person to write the promotional materials around it. And so I went ahead and wrote that blog post because it was so easy for me to do after I had spent a week with my head in this long piece of content, where Kasey would have had to read that entire thing, like digest it, and then write something. Anyway, it's just so much faster. And so I am also reminded of just best practices and things we need to be doing as we go through. So that's good.
Well, you provided in the very beginning, the first week, it was just that buyer's journey, like hero's journey, like list. And it's exactly what you said, Julia, where if you're sitting down to write a blog post, you're like beginning, middle, and end, lead, hook, body.
Yeah.
But you're not thinking like the challenge and what happens when you don't meet that challenge and what kind of hero, which is your point of view, can meet that challenge and stuff. So it breaks it down into easier like storytelling. That's more.
Yes. Storytelling for sure. Yeah. And we had people in this last section of the course, we had people from all different companies. So we had everything from like software simulation providers, like I said, like billion-dollar companies, to somebody who was the owner of their own technology company that they started because they invented and patented a new material. And so just that wide range of people, but even within that wide range of people, there were so many little connections between the different marketers and just kind of things that they could pull from each other's content or each other's, challenges and wins as marketers and what they're doing. Yeah.
Right. Morgan, have you found that have you found that the companies and their participants is it a lot of the same, or does it vary from each session that we run the course?
Yeah, we usually end up with a pretty similar mix of people. So large companies and small companies, and then with varied resources. Most people, though, are like writing is either expected in their job or to grow in their career, they need to grow in it. And so it's usually it's people who there's a very present need. And usually when we sit down in those first couple of weeks and we're deciding what each person should write, they're like, I need to write like 12 things, which is great. And we kind of build that out. And how are we going to make those 12 things link together? But let's focus on one first and do it well. But yeah, pretty similar across the board, very much B2B technology that's really complex. So having to explain that.
That makes
sense.
And
those the people in my cohort, they were like do it all kind of marketers. So they had a lot of different skills. And I know when we were talking about which like writing types that they were doing, they would always start out with like, I think I should write an overview of this topic. And you had to keep pushing them like, you can probably find all that information on Google. So 2 steps deeper.
Yeah, let's get more technical.
Really technical because that's what you're here to learn. So
what's the expertise we can pull out of your own company that'll make that a uniquely valuable piece of content, right? Yeah. So what about that? So thinking about kind of what you guys learned or specific topics throughout the course, what resonated most with you guys?
I think for me, it was something we covered very early on, which was learning, or in my case, relearning how to apply that narrative arc to my writing. From identifying and amplifying a prospect's problem and stepping through the process to finding a solution, hopefully and ultimately your solution. I think it's easy to think that you can just jump in the middle with these engineering type audiences, like, oh, they already have the background, they already know what their problem is, but you still have to tell that whole story. You still have to you have to amplify that problem for them. So it's like, okay, this isn't something you can just kick down the can. Like you need to find a solution for this.
Yeah, that's so true.
I think the one section, because it's broken up in different weeks with different topics, my favorite topic that I needed to learn the most about and had the least confidence in was getting the technical information from the subject matter experts, your SMEs, because that is like the most valuable part of your writing. It's getting it from your internal sources, but it's also for marketers, especially general marketers, it's the hardest part because you don't come with that technical background. You may be unsure of what to ask. And it is important to ask not like the basic questions. You should have that research in the back of your mind already, which is what we were taught. And then just as simple as like knowing your acronyms in your industry. You don't want to come to your expert. What does that mean? Like you should, that's something you can Google. So we went through that exercise, tried to get the most out of our valuable SMEs time, because they also are kind of like, why do I need to talk to a marketer? Like,
Yeah.
it's a waste of my
Yeah.
time. So you have to make that very efficient and get the most out of it. So I found that more valuable. And I know in my cohort, there was a lot of marketers in my shoes, like the general, oh, what do I ask?
Yeah.
What do I not? So I know it built their confidence too.
Yeah. And a lot of times I will encourage people to go back to that subject matter expert with a second review. So kind of getting that, okay, I'm going to ask the questions that I know that I feel good about asking, and then kind of drafting that piece of content. And there were a lot of people that I sent back to their SMEs and said, okay, now that you have this drafted, you have some holes. Like, let's go back and ask the SME, do they have an example of, what this looked like for a customer? Or do you talk about this needs to be, this product needs to withstand extreme temperatures. How extreme? Like, what do you mean? Do you mean 120 degrees? Like when it gets really hot outside, or do you mean like a fire? And so let's go back and ask those questions within the context of what you've created. And that often is really helpful too, because sometimes even if your questions are really good to begin with, they also don't know. They don't know what you want to hear or exactly what you're looking for. And so you're kind of doing this dance back and forth, but not being afraid to go back and make your writing stronger that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's great.
I had a question, especially with all like the new AI stuff coming out. How like has the course changed, or has it changed over the last 3 years? Do you add stuff and keep it timely?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the writing process itself, and like that kind of story narrative and storytelling and making sure your brand's incorporated, that stuff is like tried and true. And so that stuff stays the same, but we did add in a decent amount of conversation around AI tools throughout the course this year, and intentionally did not put those in video format, because I don't know if you've seen, but it seems like anything you say about AI tools expires in about 3 weeks from when you say it, right? And so what we did was we pulled those into the coaching sessions. And that's really, I mean, that's how we're using AI as a team, right? Is, okay, you've got a task at hand. Is there a tool that can help you do that task more efficiently or better? That's kind of the appropriate way to use AI through marketing. How do we use it to accelerate or strengthen what we know to be true? And so AI tools were one thing that came that we brought to kind of those coaching sessions. Everything from, brainstorming at the very beginning to using tools to consistently edit if you don't have an editing resource offhand. And so kind of all throughout that content development process, those AI tools are really valuable. And that's something we'll continue to kind of add and augment throughout the course. And next time we run the course, the AI tool discussions will look different than they did this time, because
Totally
tools are
different.
evolving. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was interesting. Oh, sorry. It was interesting to see everyone's varying levels of AI.
Oh, yes.
Like,
oh, you guys, absolutely. We had somebody, we had a participant at the beginning take all of the technical documentation about their products and code like a chat bot to answer questions about their product. Like,
wow.
And that wasn't even what he ended up doing for the course, right? That was like, I have all this content already. How can I use a tool? How can I put a tool on top of that to help people interface with it in a different way? And that was it was just a really cool, out of the blue type of application, right? And then we've got people who haven't touched tools, and we've got people using different things. Canva was a huge winner across the board, as always. Like there should be a podcast episode on Canva.
Yeah.
I agree.
Using Canva, right? But we talked about it a lot, and just especially if you don't have, if you're marketing on your own, to have to dive into an Adobe tool to do
With a
design,
steep learning
it's
curve.
a steep learning curve, and you're going to just burn days, and you don't
Yeah.
have days to burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just the beauty of kind of being able to leverage the branding resources in Canva is huge. Okay, but that said, I don't need to talk about that. You guys are better at that than I am. But that was one thing. Selfishly, I had you guys in separate cohorts so that, and we did this last time, all right? I had Kara in there, and Kara could field all of these questions that were coming up about different kind of specialist topics, things you guys do on a regular basis. But tell us a little bit about some of the expertise that you guys shared. What questions came up that that you guys could jump in and really help with?
Yeah.
You can go.
Oh, sure. I mean, so I think I talked about AI a lot. I feel like I was really late, at least within our team, I was kind of late on my AI tool adoption. Like I was gone on maternity leave, and I came back and I was like, all right, I'm behind on this. And
robots have taken over.
Exactly. Robots have taken over. And I jumped in like head first, and I was like, okay, I gotta learn this. And it was really cool to talk about, like, it seemed like each week, when we were going through our assignments and discussing like what we were doing, I feel like I was like, oh yeah, I used AI for this part of the assignment, and I used AI for this part of the assignment. And you're right, like people had like varying levels of understanding of AI tools. And I think some people were like, oh my God, I didn't know you could use this for this. And like you were saying earlier, I used it for brainstorming, but like one of the things that I thought was most useful is early on in the course, we developed kind of a corporate narrative about your brand that you're writing about, and it ended up being like a perfect AI prompt. Because you just kind of plug that in as just background information for your AI to understand where you're coming from, and then you kind of plug in like what you want it to do for you, or what you're asking for. And I was like, look, you guys already did the hard part of this AI prompting. Like, now go use it.
That's the core. That's like the foundation of, we have a webinar I did a couple months ago on prompting for generative AI. And what I have people do in that webinar is walk through that process to get that narrative down. Because that's what you use. Yes, absolutely. Yes.
And you had just found that out, like, as soon as you came to that epiphany, as soon as this course started. I remember you told me that, and then you got switched out of my cohort. How does that end? How did you do
that? Where are you going with this?
So, and it's like, one comment I wanted to make is it's so nice to have like a group discussion, because a lot of these people are solo marketers, or they have a small team that are siloed into their own conversations in the marketing department. So having outside people say how they use things. The guy who created the chatbot was in my cohort, and I think he probably brainstormed that with us. I don't know if he would have put that on his own. So and then for me, I talked a lot about AI tools, but I also know there was one point where we were just talking about keyword research and SEO, and Morgan and I had completely different tools that we used. So it was good to show them what I used. And it's a different role too, because I'm not technically just a writer. I'm usually on the very, very back end of just promoting. So the last step is me reading someone else's work, and then doing that SEO research to make sure it can perform as best as possible. So that was a good last step that I could teach other people.
That's excellent. Great resource. I think we'll probably continue to pull staff into these coaching sessions, regardless, because it's just so helpful. And I love having really well-rounded answers and not having to say, let me go, I'll ask Kasey and get back to you on that one. To just have you right there is really great. That said, I think from this course, we had somebody created an infographic that was going to become a framework for a series of infographics they're going to do throughout the next like 6 months. We had a couple of blog posts, a couple of like introductory product guides, a couple of really, really robust white papers, Julia wrote a press release. Kasey wrote the most technical blog post you have ever read in your entire life. She got like hit over the head with technical writing in this, but it's cool. But the process for all these things is the same. The output is different, but it's great to see people walk alongside each other and have a different deliverable at the end. But the process of ideating and coming up with, headlines and outlining, because you outline an infographic. You don't think about that, but if you just start with a blank page and try and make an infographic, it's going to be terrible. What's the story? What are you trying to convince people of? And so it's really cool to walk people through it. And then the next, we will run this course again next fall. And so between now and kind of end of summer, there's a form on our website under resources. You can see the content writing engineer course. And if you just drop your name and email in the form, then we'll keep you posted about courses coming up. And so that's kind of a long-term way to continue to like get engaged in this. And then you'll see me post completed work from course members over the next few months as they publish what they've been writing. You'll see those come up on my LinkedIn feed. So love to just kind of highlight that and the success stories that come with that. And one other thing I want to touch on is we leave this course with as a goal, right? You've got a completed piece of content, but you also have a plan for the next, that to fill out that whole topic cluster, that feeling where you're like, I need to write 12 pieces. Everybody's leaving with, they know the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces of content they're going to create and what types of content they are. Because through the process of deciding on a topic, a lot of times we'll go, oh yeah, that's a good topic, but it's going to make this blog post too broad. So let's save it, right? It still needs covered. Let's save it. Or that topic's really, really in depth. Or you start talking to an SME about an application area for your products and realize they have a really great customer application that you could dive into an entire case study with. Perfect. Note it, stay focused on the piece at hand. But now you know what to go right next. And so people have that piece they can publish, but they also have a plan, which is what we love about it. So,
and we get the course materials for a year, right? Like after the course ends, you can always go back and listen. I don't think I listened to every recording. So now I can go touch on it.
And I even tell people one of the weeks we go through, there's videos on all different types of content. But if you know that you've got to write a white paper, watch the white paper video and come back and watch the other ones when you're doing those pieces of content, and it'll be a refresher. So those stay live and available to everybody for a year.
Well, I'm excited to see the published. I didn't know you did that where you're gonna like shout out people if it is live, because you develop little friendships and like you're rooting to get the best content. I'm like, I picture some people in my cohort that I'm like, yes, I cannot wait.
You made it
published.
Oh, I know, it's awesome. Well, great. Other interactions with us, come to IMS in at the end of January, beginning of February in Austin. So the Industrial Marketing Summit will be there. I am teaching a session there on building and measuring brand authority. And so that'll be great. But again, just another excellent, you don't realize the power of like being together
with other marketers
with a group of peers until you're there and you're like, oh, this is my home. Like I feel I am
seen.
Understood and I'm getting so much. Like I know I have ideas of what to do next. It's so awesome. And so I know we were at Content Marketing World in September, which is awesome, marketers galore, but having this like subset of people handling just really technical marketing, B2B engineering, those kind of audiences all together is is so great. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
we hope to see you all there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's a wrap. Thanks, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for being an awesome teacher.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me today on Content Marketing Engineered. For show notes, including links to resources, visit truemarketing.com/podcast. While there, you can subscribe to our blog and our e-newsletter and order a copy of my book, Content Marketing Engineered. Also, I would love your reviews on this podcast. So please, when you get a chance, subscribe and leave me your review on your favorite podcast subscription platform. Thanks and have a great day.